what is up? Welcome back to another live stream repair. Yeah, that's right. 15 HomePods showed up yesterday alone. I did not start any or even have a stream yesterday. I had a bunch of other work to do. So of all days, I had to push everything back a day. So we had 15 HomePods mailed into us from around the country that need to get fixed up. Funny enough, most of them are the common no power issue. And then it looks like we've got a couple of people that wanted to be anonymous, and we've got a couple with death farts and bass issues, and we're gonna wrap all of this up with a bricked HomePod, one with blinking volume buttons. All right, let's get started. I'm going to get our known good power cable here and plug that in. I'm gonna tap the top a bunch just in case it's only briefly turning on and off. We see no lights, no nothing there. We've got a couple of watts from the wall. So from what I've seen in the past, that is almost always the usual dead diode on the amplifier board inside. Why does that go bad? For no good reason other than there was a bad batch of them that were made. Not exactly Apple's fault, and it's not like the diode was unfit for the job at hand, but by doing these repairs, by replacing that diode with a new one, it won't happen again at least. While we're in there, we're going to do a little bit of maintenance. We will get the DC filters replaced since those naturally age and decay over time. That usually leads to death farts and other bass issues, including absolutely roasting your subwoofer speaker and making it real stinky. And then we're going to get it thrown back together with a solid subwoofer gasket, since some people prefer to use the solid rubber for a slightly tighter bass response. Some people actually prefer to keep the foam one, which they should last for a very long time. I'm not frankly worried about these falling apart inside of HomePods, but people were asking for me to give this as an option, so there it is. And there we go. Let's get something to drink. Let me grab my bottle opener. Cheers. All right. This is going to be a long stream, but I don't have anyone else here to help. It's just me here, so if I put them off, that queue will just grow. This is actually the most that we've ever had show up at the same time. Prior to this, I think the most we've had show up is like 12 or 13 maybe. And that was like a week ago. You'd think after, doing this for... Actually, my birthday's coming up tomorrow, which means we'll have been doing this for over 3 years now. And, well, we've already passed 3,000 HomePods. The 15 that showed up today did not need to help with that. But it's just crazy to think that for how long we've been doing this, I would have expected at some point things to like slow down. Like maybe not so many of them are actually broken. But they just keep showing up. I'll keep fixing them if they keep showing up. And for as long as they can keep getting fixed. And by that I mean, I don't expect Apple to push any funky software out that renders them totally useless, but you never really know. Yeah. What is up, Mike? Welcome back. I hope your side of the state's doing all right. Yeah, and that is no joke. We average at least 100 a month. And a lot of people, a surprisingly large amount of people specifically request theirs to not be streamed. And when they specifically ask not to stream theirs, I don't question, I don't poke or prod. If they don't give any reason, then I'll be like, hey, do you want me to, I usually stream them by default. It's no more or less work for me. If you want me to stream it or not, don't worry about saving me any effort. If it's a privacy issue, I can put you anonymously like you see up there. We've got a bunch of NPs. That just stands for no power. So we've got 5 people that sent in HomePods with no power that want them done anonymously. And number 4 of them has sent 2 of them in. It's one heck of a Christmas bonus, I guess, and birthday present. Happy birthday, me. I just gotta work for it. For those curious, that liquid coming out of the blue jar there is isopropyl alcohol. It breaks down this glue, so when we pry this basket up, it makes things a lot easier. And then I like to pry against the screws of the subwoofer so that we don't scratch up the subwoofer itself. It's easier to replace these screws than it is to repair or replace the whole subwoofer if you scratch it up. And the idea behind that is if somebody repurposes the HomePod in the future and they take it apart and reuse like the speaker here, I see a lot of people taking these apart and prying up against the whole subwoofer, and that can scratch it up and make it look ugly if you're using it in a project that shows it. So a little pro tip there, use some rubbing alcohol to break up that glue, and then pry against the screws of the subwoofer. You can always straighten them back. It's easy to find replacements, and you'll keep that subwoofer looking nice and pretty in case you or someone else wants to use it for something in the future where you'll see it. Speaking of the glue, this is what's kept most people out of these things. And it serves no great purpose. It serves no functional purpose that benefits you or I, at least, because everything is actually sealed by this gasket that sits right below the glue. So literally the only reason they glued this thing together was to hold this on top. It doesn't seal anything. Let's get you guys. Didn't realize my camera there was all goofed up. Now you can see. Get this power supply out. I'm going to be talking a lot about what goes wrong with these and how we fix them for these first few HomePods, and then I'm sure I'm gonna get real quiet after that. If we want to be on a reasonable pace, we're going to want to get each HomePod done in under 30 minutes. Because I don't want to be here fixing stuff till dinner. I'm fine with fixing up till dinner, but I hear music playing. Why is there music playing? I'm the only one home. Oh, I wonder if the cat... Yeah, I think the cat touched one of the HomePods. That scared me. I was like, I'm definitely the only one home right now. Okay, first up, those 4 filters right there. They're probably working just fine now, but in due time, ceramic capacitors all decay, they all age over time, they become less effective at filtering DC voltage. That's because they are basically crystals, fancy little crystals, or at least they've got a crystalline structure that tends to loosen up or slack off over time. And this will result in those infamous death farts and all sorts of bass issues. Whether they're being used or not, they could be sitting, like these filters could be brand new in the packaging and they start to decay. So we like to replace those when we have the opportunity. We used to not bother replacing them unless they tested bad, but then eventually we started seeing ones that tested good start to go bad in only a matter of months. And I just made the executive decision to just replace them in every HomePod, and that's what I recommended everybody else do too. If you work on HomePods, if you fix them for others, replace those filters every chance you get. Or you will have them reaching back out to you. Hey, you fixed this one thing and now it's doing this other thing. And it puts you in an awkward position because, I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to prove and explain that it has nothing to do with what you fixed, but do you really want to? Do you want to give a bunch of excuses? Not when we know better now. It's a funny story how I even figured out that these were what were going bad and causing death farts and bass issues. It goes back to right after a few years ago when we started fixing them for no power. And there was someone that was trying to figure out why they would pop. Why some HomePods would pop really loud whenever they turned on or went to sleep. And they blamed the amplifier chip right over here. Not a bad suspect, but not the right one. Let's get that dead diode replaced. Sorry, I forgot to put their name up on the screen. There we go. We've got a 46K dated diode. It's the 46Ks and the 48Ks that continue to fail on us for no good reason other than quality control issues over there at Diodes Incorporated. Who knows what they were drinking? Who knows what was in their water those 2 weeks? We see diodes as old as 26K and as new as 1802K. So that's a pretty wide range. And only these date codes are the ones that keep failing. So we'll get it replaced with a new one. It's not just a new one. It's not just a new diode. It's a bigger, beefier, stronger one. It's not really necessary, but it gives people peace of mind. And funny enough, it's also cheaper than the exact replacement part number if you wanted to use the original. Not that I would really recommend it based on their track record, but if it's all you got, it won't be the worst. If it's not the same date code, it'll be okay. Get that tinned up with some fresh solder. Pop it down. So back to how we figured out death farts and those 4 filters. I doubted that other fellow's diagnosis of it being the amp chip. So I did a bunch of research and I came across a blog post from someone discussing, just talking about DC offset. I was trying to figure out what could cause it, what do you do about it, and I learned a bunch of things. DC offset is a fairly common thing to have. It's pretty much unavoidable in all Class D amplifiers like this. So what you do is you're supposed to filter it with capacitors. You can use any kind of capacitor you want, but you have to consider the design of the product, what it's going to be used for, where it's going to be installed, its environment. Is it going to be getting shaken around and vibrated all day by a subwoofer? You know, there's all sorts of things you have to consider when picking all of these different components. So they picked, for whatever reason, those ceramic capacitors for the HomePod. And the other thing that read out to me, or that stuck out to me in that blog post talking about DC offset, was not just that it's inevitable with Class D audio amps, Not just that you're supposed to filter it, usually with capacitors, but that DC offset tends to get worse with heat. And I thought to myself, okay, so we know how to measure the DC offset out of the HomePod amplifier. We can just plug a subwoofer into the amp. We can connect a multimeter to the subwoofer and read the DC voltage. But we don't know where it's coming from or how it was being filtered. So I thought, if it gets worse with heat, what if I take my heat gun and I start moving it around the board until I see the DC voltage spike on the subwoofer? That'll point me in the area of where to look for these filters that are supposed to be removing this DC voltage but aren't. That led me to those filters. It led me right to it. As soon as I put the heat gun over those 4 filters, the HomePod death farted on me, and it was really surprising and kind of startling. I jumped back a little bit because it sounds a little different and it's really loud with everything taken apart. But I found it, and I was able to confirm by heating up my plastic tool here. I got it really hot so that I could directly touch the capacitors and see. I was able to touch those capacitors and find the exact component that was reacting the most and causing that DC offset to go out of control. From there, it's pretty easy figuring out what to replace them with. We can just measure the DC voltage that a good working amp sees across those filters to estimate 25 to 35% over voltage rating. So if we see 22 to 24 volts across them, then about 35 volts is a good starting point. And then obviously you want like a 10% tolerance or less X7R rating. That means that the capacitance won't change more or less than 10%, and the X7R rating is that it will maintain its specified capacitance within tolerance throughout this particular temperature range. X7R is what you usually look for DC filters with audio amps, because it can get hot, and a lot of the capacitors, it doesn't matter if they can't filter DC voltage out as well if they get hot, or they may not even get hot, so it won't matter either. But for those filters in particular, those specifications matter. And then the only spec that was tricky to determine, actually not really, was what the capacitance of those things were. So once again, back to a good known parts board, I can pull them off, and that's when I learned that my basic cheapo little multimeter couldn't read capacitance, and I got myself the next level up. It's still kind of cheap and crappy, but is aight. What is up, lagging? Welcome back, welcome back. Hamster Bub, what is up? Welcome. Mine won't turn on either. I have great instructions. Thank you, thank you. Why does it have so many screws? It has a lot of screws, particularly on that amplifier inside, because the screws for the amplifier board that go around are the actual connection to the tweeter speakers. Down in there. So each of those are the actual high-end frequency speakers, and they each have screw posts that actually is how they get the sound from the amplifier. The second gen did away with this. They went back to a more typical cable and connector that runs from the amp to the speaker to the amp, I should say. They charged you tax on the cable, are you serious? At least I only declare it as like the raw. It still sucks. Nothing you can really do about it. At least you got it. I had somebody in Hong Kong, I think, had one returned. It's on its way back to me. I'm trying a different address this time. We'll get this buttoned up. We're almost done with number 1. What are we, 28 minutes in? Yeah, we did talk for a few minutes before we started, so I'll consider ourselves on track here. It's not the end of the world if I can't fix all of these today and I have to push a few of them out tomorrow, but I already feel bad for pushing everybody's out to today. I didn't end up having time to fix anything yesterday. What a day too. 15 show up and I can't touch any of them until the next day. I have never. The average that we get on a day-to-day is like 2 to 4. 5 or 6 on the higher end. We're averaging about give or take a few dozen, about 100 a month. And then why is it not slowing? How is it not slowing down? There can only be so many HomePods out there. And we're not the only ones doing it anymore. How do they keep showing up? And most of the, no, we're not getting any of them back. I can tell straight away if it's a HomePod that I or for sure somebody else tried to work on before. I can tell right away. These are all first timers. On the bright side, we should never see them coming back, but it begs for a recall. I'm always hesitant to think that just because, you know, we get so many of one thing in to fix one problem that it's a super widespread issue that actually affects the majority of a product. That's a majority of a product's production run. But I'm starting to think that might actually be the case. We've got number 1 turning on.
I'm having trouble connecting to...
Looks good.
I'm having trouble...
Sounds good. Excellent. We will set that on the test bench and break out the next one. We've got Mahesh. They've also got no power. Let's see. Let's shoot them a message so they can watch. Oh, I am tempted to get a Mac Mini as my streaming PC because then I can just pull up iMessage and do it all from there. Here it is. We got no lights, no power, no nothing. Oh, how much power do we have from the wall? We got 5 or 6 watts. That is exactly the same as the other one. Let's get it apart and get it fixed. It's most likely going to be the exact same repair. We'll get this apart. We'll get to that amplifier. We will replace those DC filters first that tend to go bad and cause death farts and all sorts of bass issues. And then we'll replace that Schottky diode that failed already and is causing their power issue here. Pro tip if you're working on these yourself, keep this tool as level as possible and don't pry up on it. That's how you crack and break these. Just keep going around and around and around. It'll pop off on its own when you've cut through the adhesive enough. And then to get this off, I like to line up with the volume button. There's a teeny tiny, the smallest of holes right there. If you can see one right there and one right there. I'm going to wedge that in there and get this out. We want to make sure that what we've gotten in between is this entire display assembly, because this plastic piece on top, sometimes you can accidentally separate from the PCB. And that's not the end of the world, but you do often break this ambient light sensor off if you separate these layers. Also not the end of the world. The display will continue working pretty much just fine. You probably won't even notice a difference. You've obviously just lost the ambient light functionality, so instead of it adjusting its brightness based on the lighting in the room, it just runs at full brightness. And I don't mean it doesn't turn the display off, it still turns it on and off. Just brightness control is at max all the time. I get a lot of people emailing me to buy this display. And I check with them first. I'm like, you broke the ambient light sensor off, didn't you, Squidward? And they're like, no. Yeah. And I'm like, you can keep using it. It'll work just fine without it. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. Awesome, thank you. I would much rather. Oh, that's the most preferred. If I can fix people's stuff with a few words over email and nothing more, even if I don't get paid for it, that's my favorite. That is my favorite. So what if I could make a few bucks selling parts? I would much rather have somebody reach out thinking they need a new part, and then them being like, oh, well, in that case, I don't need it, thank you. Because then I have the parts for myself. And I don't mind selling people what they need to help fix their own mistakes. But don't come asking me for a dozen displays, a dozen logic boards, 50 cheeseburgers, 50 milkshakes, 50 large fries, you know. Oh, I think it's open. The sweet sounds of HomePod repair. Let's look at that subwoofer. Smells good. You never know if a subwoofer's been getting roasted its whole life leading up to it eventually losing or having no power. It's pretty rare, but I have fixed a few no power HomePods, and then lo and behold, prior to the power issue, they had death farts, and they forgot to mention. They forgot to mention that it wouldn't play music for more than 5 minutes at a time before making a loud robot fart noise and restarting itself before it eventually stopped turning on altogether. And I mean, if that kind of thing happens and then you stuff it in the closet for a year or two until you find someone to eventually fix it and you kind of forget, I can see that. But at the same time, as somebody that's fairly obsessed with these, it's still kind of funny to me to think that, or in general, like, I guess the same could apply to a lot of professions, like a mechanic, for example. Where a customer brings their car in and they're like, Yeah, my engine's making this funny sound. And you go and diagnose it and you find that they didn't put any oil in it. But they put oil back in it before taking it to you. They just want you to fix the sound. They're not going to tell you that they forgot to put oil in it. Ooh, so what? I only drove for like 500 miles on it that way before I got more oil put in it. Knock, 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 knock. Alex, welcome back. Randy, welcome. What's the max repair cost? So, pretty much anything that shows up here, if you're in the US, if it's a first-gen HomePod, the most it's going to cost you, including shipping both ways, is $80. And that's like certain death farts or bass issues and certain ones with blinking volume buttons. But if your HomePod just isn't turning on, that's almost always a $70 repair. And then if you happen to have access to your own shipping account, say you work for a company that lets you ship things on their account so you don't have to pay for it, I'll give you $10 off each way that you cover shipping. So if you want to pay to ship it in to me, that's $10 off, and then if you include a return label, that's another $10 off. So you can get up to $20 off anything that you get fixed from us if you have access to your own shipping. On the flip side, if you don't even have a box to safely send the thing into us, I can send you a box with some packing inside and some tape and the label to send it into us already printed out for an extra $15. And then, last but not least, that $20 discount if you cover your own shipping. I count that if you are local. We're in Bellevue, Washington, and I am more than happy for you to drop it off at my place. If that's cheaper and more convenient for you than the shipping hassle. I get about 3 or 4 people a month that are locals that drop them off, which is a lot more than I would have expected. It's funny, a lot of them work at Microsoft. With all these Microsoft employees that have HomePods, you would think you'd see like a HomePod competitor from Microsoft at some point. You got the blinking volume buttons? Yeah. Excuse me. Blinking volume buttons, there's a chance that it's just a software issue and I can fix it with just my fancy little USB cable. There's a chance it's a more severe hardware issue. So the blinking volume buttons ones range $50 to $80 at most, shipping both ways included. You spend $100 on shipping for your plushie. Well, depending on how big it was, That might not be too bad in how far it went. Also, what's up, Sleep? I swear okay. I think I saw you... I think I saw your name somewhere online. And I was questioning whether it was you or not? I think it might have been Twitter. You mentioned me in a thread or something. Here we go. Got some fresh solder on there. Already got the flux on there. Sleep, what's new? What's up? What's old? What have you been up to? Anything good? This is all done. It's ready to put back together again. And then we'll see if it works. I am thirsty though. Get my bottle opener. Cheers. Randy, Apple Pay. Yeah, yes. I take quite literally everything that's out there. I'll do the Apple Pays, I'll do the Cash Apps, I'll do the Venmos, I'll do the cryptos. The only thing I won't take, do not give me your credit card number directly. Don't write it down on a piece of paper. Don't leave it in a voicemail. Don't give me your bank account information. I had somebody send a check with theirs. I wouldn't recommend it, just because if your HomePod gets lost in the mail, not a huge deal. We can figure that out. But if your HomePod gets lost, along with cash or even worse, a check and or your banking info, that's a bigger deal. Not to mention, I simply do not want to be responsible with handling anybody's super sensitive personal information. I'm just a one-man shop doing this in my free time, just trying to feed my fat self and my family. It doesn't keep the lights on. That's what the day job's for. I wish this was I wish we made enough from this to keep the lights on, but you can't justify charging much more than this to fix these things, especially as they get older and older. I'm gonna have to keep bringing my price down further and further. Not yet, not anytime soon at least, not while there's still, 15 showing up a day. This is insane. But Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember now. Cool internet digital dashboards tweet. That's right. I don't even know why. Oh, you know. That's really interesting. I wonder if it popped into my feed. When it popped into my feed, that's when I was like, oh, they're gonna like mine. I'll share pictures of mine. I wonder if it popped into my feed because you follow them already? And if not, then it popped into your feed because I replied to them. I've been seeing a lot of tweets from people that generally I wouldn't be interested in or would ever follow. Well, and some that I would follow, that I do end up following. But Twitter pushes me these tweets from people that I can't figure out why they would show me this tweet from this person until I see in the replies somebody that I follow or that follows me. It's really weird seeing tweets from people because it's from an account that follows me that I don't follow back, replied to them. That made no sense. Let me see if I can explain that in a better way. So, let's say you've got a Twitter account and you've got a bunch of followers. You don't follow everybody back. 'Cause, you know, people are weird. Twitter's weird. But anyways, you got a Twitter account, you got a bunch of followers, you don't follow everyone back, but you're browsing through Twitter and you come across a tweet from an account that you don't follow, and when you look at the replies, it's from an account, or there's a reply to that tweet from a different Twitter account that follows you. You've never engaged with that follower before, but for whatever reason, Twitter decided to show you a tweet that one of your non-mutual followers engaged with. It's weird. I wonder what they... And it's... Get this. It's gotten me to follow a number of people back because I generally don't immediately follow people back, even if I vaguely recognize the name or who they are, or if they were like a customer at one point for like if I like fixed their stuff, right? But if you've got content that's relevant to my interests, I'll follow back. Sometimes I'll check out their profile and see. But there have been a few like profiles that I've checked out and been like, I won't follow. Maybe later. And then they'll just come out with absolute banger replies. And it's like, how? Alright, enough of Twitter. Aaron, welcome back. Welcome back. Do you mind me asking what software and hardware you're using for your live streams? I do not mind at all, good sir. I have got most of the tools and cameras and such that I use. If you head to my website, nixfix.com, and then you go to the FAQ section, I've got a list of all the tools and some of the cameras that I use here. And some of the software as well. We're using OBS mainly, and then I've got Droid Cam for OBS to enable my spare cell phones as additional cameras for more viewing angles. And that's pretty much it. I don't do any special OBS tricks. I've got a couple of, iPhones on the screen there to make things look nice and fancy. But those are just PNGs of iPhone mock-ups. What you do is you get your phone video or any kind of video source, and then you get your iPhone mock-up PNG, and you add the PNG, and then you literally just put the video over the PNG in OBS, and you're done. If you want, you can add some rounded corners to things, add some opacity, just a tiny touch to make it look a little more like it's a little more realistic. Alright, we're looking good on time, even with blabbing our mouths off, slowing ourselves down. We are keeping under that 30-minute per pod mark. What's going to be the cost of the radio? Oh, Aaron, I do not want to charge you for the radio. Here's my deal. Here's my deal with Nick's Fix. Obviously we specialize in HomePods.
I'm having trouble connecting.
That's our bread and butter. That's what we started off doing. But for anything else, if I don't give you like an upfront estimate, and or it takes me more than like a few days or a week or so, I'm not gonna charge you for it. Especially for like a first time thing like this. Literally all I did was take it apart and put it back together. I can't charge you for something like that. That said, I'm gonna turn around and say that I need, obviously we need the time to catch up on all these darn HomePods so we can fix it for you, but I know you're not in a rush. It's been broken for so long, but I want to get it back to you sooner than later. I can't just keep saying one more HomePod and then I'll get to it. Especially if I'm gonna get 15 in a day. I really hope this slows down. Yeah, that's okay, Aaron. We'll hash it out over email. Don't seriously, do not worry about paying me to take it apart and put it back together anytime soon. We'll figure it out. We will get it. All right, the next one up is Michael. Let's pull up Michael. Where's Michael's information? It's not this fellow, is it? Nope. It's not this Michael, is it? All right, I found him. We've got Michael, no power, message sent. All right, now we can take him apart and fix him up. Let's talk about the power draw really quick. So you see us plug it in and check it out, see what it does each time. This power cable is plugged into our kill a watt meter. That is a very handy tool for measuring how much power is being drawn from the wall by whatever is plugged into it. It's got other metrics, but that's the one that I care about the most here. And what I've noticed after fixing so many of these is a general pattern behind how much power it draws and what kind of failure has caused its lack of power. So you've got the most common one that you see here with that shorted diode on the amplifier board. That one generally pulls around 4 to 7 watts. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but almost all of them fall in to that 4 to 7 watt range. And then you've got the ones with a blown fuse on the power supply. Those ones are kind of rare. I pretty much never get those in. I've only had 1 or 2 in years ago when we first started offering HomePod repairs, and these things were still being sold brand new. So the only time I've seen it, I've never seen a blown fuse on the power supply with a US HomePod. I've only seen it with 220/240 volt powered HomePods. And the power supply is switching. It supports 110 to 220 volts AC. It's the same hardware inside no matter where it was sold all around the world. They just plug in a different power cable. So the power supply itself is switching. It can support whatever it gets plugged into. But I've noticed that the only time the fuse on that power supply blows up is when it's the higher voltage that it ran on. There we go. That ribbon cable can be tricky to peel off. Alright, we've almost got that amplifier out. And I am already almost out of beer. That's sad. I guess I should have, prepared myself with more than 3 beers for a 15 HomePod stream. Oh, you know what I do have? You know what I do have? I do have some, I've got some, Jim Beam bourbon. Alright, tell you what. If I can get 12 likes, on this stream, I will take a shot of that Jim Beam bourbon for you guys. And if I can get more likes than I've got people watching right now, if I can get 20 likes on this, then I'll take another shot. We're gonna pull a Louis Rossman today. We're gonna get these done whether we gotta do it drunk or sober. Now, I totally understand if you want your kids to watch us fix a couple HomePods and then wait for them to go to bed to leave your likes to get me all trashed. I'll wait for you. Oh shit, no, I was okay, I was kidding. No, nobody else don't like it. The car is teetering on the edge of the cliff, and it's up to you whether you get in or you stay in or you get out. What are you gonna do? Only got 11 likes. That's what I thought. Sober Nick wins. Sober Nick prevails. We got a 46K dated diode there. So we'll get that replaced. Here's a brand new one. Bigger, better, stronger, and cheaper? It surprised me when I was looking at not just replacements for this diode, but possible alternatives to suggest for people. I get so many people emailing me. Hi, I appreciate your repair videos. I wish I could send mine in to get fixed by you, but I live in another country, it'd be too expensive, blah blah blah. I looked into fixing it myself, and I can't find the replacement diode anywhere. What do you suggest I use instead? And I was able to confirm just by trying it out myself. I risked a perfectly good working HomePod amp and tried a few different diodes rated with higher ratings. In theory, there was nothing that would have gone wrong. It should have worked just fine, but I was still a little nervous about trying a different part than the exact OEM replacement that was used. It's kind of like using a different kind of oil in your engine than what the manufacturer recommended. You kind of like, But once you understand what the difference is between the two parts can affect, and whether it matters or not, then you feel a lot better about it. For example, the original diode is a 5-volt or a 60-volt 5-amp rated Schottky diode, and that's perfectly adequate for what it was doing in HomePods. But a lot of people can't find that particular spec. So I found that you can safely use a 7-amp 60-volt Schottky diode without worrying about, that won't have any negative effects. You can use a higher rated amperage Schottky diode, and it should be okay. You don't want to use a lower rated one, obviously. It'll fail prematurely. And you don't want to use one that's rated for a different amperage. Similar reasons. Or that's at a lower amperage than 5 amps and at a voltage higher or lower than 60. The voltage needs to stay the same, but you can overshoot the amperage. Alright, well, we only got 11 out of the 12 likes in order for you guys to prove that you hate my liver and make me take a shot of Jim whatever bourbon whiskey, whatever the heck my wife cooked the ham with the other day. So you can take your like back if you want. You can give that to someone else. You can leave it there if you want. I'll keep it safe for you. My favorite is the OG iPhone view. Oh, I remember when the iPhone came out and like the coolest kids in school were the ones with iPhones. And our teachers were still saying, you're not going to be carrying around a calculator in your pocket, so you better learn how to get good without it. I get what they're saying, but it's a wrong way to prove, it's the wrong thing to say to try to prove the point. Because people like me are going to think in their head, well, yes we will. But anyways, the old iPhone one fits that one pretty well, because it's a Galaxy Note 8 that the video is coming from, and over USB I cannot get a great video quality out of it. So it kind of looks bad. But for an iPhone, for an OG iPhone, it's a great camera. Recently purchased a used OG and they're working fine. if you want them to be repaired as a caution. So I do offer a maintenance service. It costs the same as any other standard repair, and that's because it doesn't take any more or less work, and it doesn't take any more or less parts to fix a HomePod after it's failed a common issue, or if you want to try to prevent it before it happens. It usually ends up being the same. That said, if your HomePod doesn't have any issues, don't worry about spending any money on it. But as soon as it does have issues, don't ignore them. Hit us up. We'll get you taken care of. Maintenance, that's, people still insisted for it. They still absolutely wanted to pay for us to take apart their perfectly working HomePod and replace the same components that they see fail all the time here. Perfectly understandable. And I do the same stuff to all of my HomePods that I keep for myself. I replace all this stuff so I don't have to worry about it again. But maintenance on an otherwise working HomePod is $70 per HomePod with shipping covered both ways. And if you're local and you want to drop it off and then pick it up when it's done, that's $20 off, so it'd only be $50. In other words, a $50 repair for most HomePods, and then I charge $10 each way on top of that for shipping. So if you wanna find a way to ship or drop it off each way, that's $10 off each way. Michael, welcome. Welcome to the chat. Looks like we're slowly catching up on our on our pace here. We're trying to get one done in under every 30 minutes. My average is 20 to 22 minutes if I can shut up the whole time. And the fastest I've gotten one done is 15 minutes and some seconds. Yes, both the diode and all of the filters. But that took a lot of effort, and I do not want to sit here and do a bunch of that. We'll set cruise control at 80 miles an hour. Not too slow, not too fast.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check. I'm having trouble connecting.
All right. Another one saved. Folks, we're going to take a quick bathroom break, a quick tea break, a quick whatever break you need a few minutes for. We will be right back. All right, we are back. We are back. Michael, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to hang out and watch the rest of these get fixed up. You'll hear from us after we're done with our stream here on how to get your HomePod back. Until then, let's take a look now at Andrew's. We'll go ahead and shoot them a link to watch. Here we are. Andrew with no power. Yes, sir. We're getting through it. Let's see what this one's doing. No lights, no power, no nothing. We've got the usual dead diode power draw from the wall. Oh, geez. Let's get it fixed. Very nice. Let's see if I don't do any talking, how fast we can get through this one. Here we go. Up close and personal with our amplifier. Let's get those fart filters first, and then we'll take care of the star shot key of the show. All right. Protected from the fart of death for a long time coming. Let's get that dead diode out of here. What's its date code? If you guessed 46K, give yourself a brand new diode. The liquid that you just saw me put on there is called flux. It is an absolutely critical component in a good quality solder connection. Without flux, you are destined for failure. Cold solder joints, things that just seem to not solder together. Troubles. Flux is the magic sauce that reacts with the solder pads and the copper and removes the layer of oxidation that pretty much instantly builds up as soon as it's exposed to the atmosphere. And it allows you to not just make, it's basically, to put it simply, without removing that corrosion, you're creating just a mechanical bond. You're holding hands. Those parts are holding hands like this. But with flux, it can remove that corrosion, and you can create a true, proper alloy. When you solder something together, it's, when done properly, creating a whole new alloy, a new metal, to connect things together. So you're interlocking fingers. This is what you want, and this is what you get with flux. This is what you get without it. And don't count on the flux that comes inside of your solder here. It might work here and there for you. Might get the job done once in a while. But you'll find yourself struggling a lot less when you start giving yourself generous amounts of flux. Something is not sealing. There we go. Now it's sealed. If you've ever wondered why you see me doing this when we're putting them together, that is why. I'm listening to see if everything is sealed up. From the subwoofer down, everything is sealed. From here up, nothing is sealed, and it doesn't matter how you put it together. But from the subwoofer down, needs to be perfectly sealed up or it'll sound like crap. So if you know what you're doing, you can push on the subwoofer, generate a little positive pressure inside, and listen for any air escaping to let you know you didn't get something quite right. It is a sealed unit. It's not free, it's not open air. We have passed 12 likes. Actually, we've got 13 likes now. That's pretty cool. I guess I owe you guys a shot of Jim's bourbon. We'll get this put together and I'll go get that. Oh, someone is here with another HomePod. Goodness, I will be right back.
I still have no rush. You know, like 14 or 15 of them, so I should get to it tomorrow or the day after. No rush. It's dead, so it can sit here. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's been dead for a little while. So yeah, like and that's how like the videos about where it just spontaneously stops working. So the reason why these usually just kind of like die out of nowhere is because of a particular dial inside on the amplifier. The manufacturer of that dial didn't do a good job of keeping it. So Apple got unlucky, they used a bunch of reverb. What happens is during software updates or when it's configuring or even if you're just doing nothing sitting there. Usually during updates, it tends to pull more power as it's reading storage dynamics that you configure increase. And that extra load that tends to make it down. So if it was, especially say 2 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago they pushed an update out. So a variable may have been in the middle of an update that dies overnight, or but in any case, I'll get a part, I'll get a replaced for you, or if I again, because it's like it's part, I'll do it, and then I'll shoot you a link to watch when I get to it too. And then yeah, and I'll let you know. Well, and that's for that's a fascinating hobby business. If it's not working well, hopefully you steal the parts. And I've heard and seen thousands of these by now, and I've got so many parts set aside that I can get a piece for you with what I told you. Well, I do Apple Pay, Cash App, Venmo, whatever you've got. Yeah, I just don't think you're going to go for it. Yeah, I'll just take you whenever you're ready. Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, thank you for your time. Of course, don't see it. All right, cheers.
Whew! Alright, another one. You wouldn't believe it. I guess that makes it 16 that showed up in one day. Wow. Oh, they got a nice car too. Very cool. That is just too funny. I get 15 in the mail, and then on top of that, I've got not just that guy that just dropped his HomePod off here at my house. I've got 2 other people trying to arrange a time to drop theirs off here too. There's something about this time of the year. There is something about it. Well, would you look at that? We've got Andrew working again. I owe you guys a shot. Let me go grab that. I love my beer. I hate my hard alcohol. Well, I promised you guys I'd do it at 12 likes. I'll do it again if we can do 20 likes. I pray we don't. I'm not doing a full shot. I am so sorry. I'll do a half a shot. Ooh, that's stinky. Why am I doing this to myself? Alright, thanks for the likes, folks. Thanks for hanging out with me. Giving me all this attention. Giving me all these broken HomePods to fix. Cheers. Awful. Why do people drink this? Oh. Man.
I'm having trouble connecting to the. I'm having trouble connecting.
All right. Andrew is in good working order. We'll set that on the bench. And we'll grab the next one. Looks like Joseph. Joseph. Here we go. Here we go. Can you guess what's wrong with Joseph's? Yep, that's right, no power. Yes, indeed. Alright, what does Joseph got here? No lights, no power, no nothing. I'm gonna spam touch the top of this here because sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes these are in like a boot loop, but they only attempt to boot up for like a quarter of a second. And then they loop over and over. So when you touch it once, like this, the light might only light up for half a second and then turn back off. And it won't show up again unless you're sitting here and touching it over and over. So that's why we do that. Looking at our kilowatt meter here, we've got a solid steady 6 watts of power draw. So that to me looks like the typical dead diode. Let's get it apart and get it fixed. I'm feeling that shot already. I am not an alcoholic. I'm not a heavyweight. I am quite a lightweight. I love my beer, but I only drink a couple of them every once in a while. Woo! Very good. I think we're gonna go for a world record attempt during this stream. I mean, I already hold the world record for fastest HomePod repair. Don't get me wrong, but I want to solidify it. I want to give no one any other chance. It's not going to be this one. We're already too far behind on this one to make it the fastest time. My fastest time to date is 15 and a half minutes. I think if we can get into the rhythm of it, we can maybe match that. Maybe shave a few seconds off. Jeez, I really need to... I can still taste that freaking bourbon in my mouth. I need to wash that down with something. Oh, that's more like it. Tastes like bread in a bottle. Alright, let's fix this. Well, first, let's go ahead and do a little bit of maintenance. We'll get those filters replaced with brand new ones. Keep those death farts away, keep that base nice and healthy. and filtered. The bourbon! It's messing with me. Don't breathe this. Let's flip this around. Get that dead diode. 48K this time around. Still though, it's the 46K and the 48K date codes that consistently fail. 1748K is the date code, or 1746K for some of the others. The first two numbers represent the year, and the second two numbers represent the week of that year. So, for the 1746K and the 1748K, that means that it's the diodes that were manufactured in week 47 and week 48 of 2017 that Diodes Incorporated forgot how to make these things. To be fair, I can't make one myself, but when it's your profession, when it's literally in your name, it's reasonable to expect that the part is going to do the job without prematurely failing on you. But here we are. Here we are. On the bright side, sure, Apple doesn't take responsibility for this, and they're not fixing it. But at least when we fix it, it stays fixed, and it's not going to happen again. We're already at 16 likes now. I might move the second shot of bourbon's goalpost from 20 likes to 24 likes. Mostly because I just don't want to take another shot of it. Don't make me do this. even though I'm making myself do it. I blame YouTube and their constant push to have their content creators make all these calls to action. That's what it's called. If you're not into marketing and you haven't done a whole lot of or if you haven't done much any of like trying to run a business or run a social media profile or run advertisements, call to action was a fairly new term to me. And prior to trying to run a business, I didn't think much of call to action. I always kind of thought, you'd watch a YouTuber doing a YouTube video or whatever, and they'd be like, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe for this, that, and the other thing. And in the back of my head, I always thought, yeah, sure, why bother saying that? The people that are going to want to like and subscribe are going to like and subscribe. Why bother annoying people with stuff like that? Like asking them to do it. They're going to do it, right? Right? Turns out, the back of my mind was very wrong. I was quite surprised that to learn, like, and then now, looking back in hindsight and then thinking more about it, it's like, obviously it works. I've done it myself. I've watched, there'll be YouTube channels that I've watched for, heck, sometimes years. And I'll never even realize that I never even subscribed to them. The only reason I watched their videos was because it was recommended to me once, and it keeps getting recommended to me because I watched the first one. And I never subscribed, even though I would have if I realized I didn't sooner. So call to action. There you go. Bit of marketing education for you there. A call to action might seem silly at first, but it's surprisingly effective. I'll give you guys another example. I mean, we were sitting here during our live stream at 4 or 5 or so likes, and I threatened you all with a shot of bourbon, and boom, 12 likes, 13, 14 likes. I threatened you guys again with another shot of bourbon if we can hit 20. We're at 17 now. It works. Personally, I still think it's kind of cringy, but if you can't beat them, join them. That said, no, I am not hiring. Nice and sealed. I do not glue this basket down for a few reasons. We already explained earlier that it doesn't matter if there's glue there or not. Everything is already sealed with other parts before that glue even matters. And if it got to the point where it's the glue that's keeping things sealed, it's not going to work anyways, because they don't apply it evenly. They don't apply it good enough to the point where it would even create a good enough seal to replace a failing gasket, for example, or a bent subwoofer. So I don't like to glue this back down. Nobody else does, but I guess I kind of set that precedence by saying you don't have to worry about it, but you don't. And I don't like to, because also it would make it harder for someone else to take this apart again in the future. For something that was done seemingly for no reason other than to make it difficult to take apart. Like, there's no good reason that they glued this top basket down. But that's pretty classic Apple, isn't it, if you think about it? They are masters of doing things with plausible explanations or reasoning to prove them innocent, but more believable and convincing reasons that only benefit them in the end. Like the glue, stopping people from taking these things apart themselves, so they're inclined to just replace it instead. But on the flip side of that, right, like Apple is a big enough company to understand, I would think, or maybe they don't, but like, you would think that Apple would think offering repair solutions and guides and parts and just not letting like serializing parts. You know, you can't just take the screen from or a battery from one phone and put it in another without getting warning messages and features disabled. But I can't help but think Apple already figured that even if they did offer that, even if they did offer services like repair guides and more parts, it wouldn't affect their bottom line, and it wouldn't. Like the kind of person who breaks their phone and then like when someone's phone breaks, when somebody's device, HomePod, laptop, phone, whatever, when it breaks, I believe it's already been predetermined before the thing even broke. Whether the person's gonna fix it themselves, or whether they're gonna try to get it fixed, or if they're just gonna outright replace it. Most people are already, they already, like, people that tend to fix things themselves tend to try to figure out how to fix anything that breaks for themselves. At least that's how I operate. And then the people that, they can't fix their own stuff, their own electronics, they're going to be more inclined to either pay for a repair service, or in many cases they don't want to get it repaired because they don't think it's going to be the best option for them in the first place. They're just going to want to replace it because it's time, they've already had the old device for so long, they just wanted a reason to upgrade or whatever. What I'm getting at is, when a thing that when something someone has breaks, they've already before that point decided what they were going to do if that thing broke in that way. Most people. And Apple providing or refusing options serializing parts, locking things out. That's not going to affect their bottom line. That's not going to have a major impact on their profit. Unfortunately, that goes both ways. So, you know, they're not going to be motivated to, you know, that's my biggest argument against against planned obsolescence and them making conscious active choices towards making self-repair and right to repair easier. Is on one hand, they could just be simply doing things the way that they do it because they believe that no matter what they do, it's not going to affect their bottom line. People are either going to fix it themselves and figure it out themselves whether there's a way to or not, or they're going to replace it. And offering options isn't going to change that other crowd. The only thing they're concerned with are the crowd that's going to replace it, whether it can be repaired or not. And that crowd doesn't care if they can get their own parts to fix it themselves or not. They're either going to get it fixed or get it replaced. So, I don't know. Maybe the bourbon's getting to my head. Maybe that makes no sense. But I guess what I'm getting at is you aren't going to see anybody making any major changes overnight unless somebody starts a new company that just blows everybody else's products out of the water and sets a precedence that, like, you can do all of this and be successful. And like, it just doesn't sit right with me. Could Apple not just make a few more people happy by giving us those options?
I'm having trouble connecting to the...
What I'm getting at is sell me HomePod parts.
I'm having trouble...
They already sell parts and give guides for their other products. Why don't they do it for HomePods? HomePods are like my thing. I don't care about the iPhones. I don't care about the MacBooks. I don't care about the Macs. I do not care about most any of the other Apple products except for HomePods. These things are awesome, but they're absolutely cursed at the same time. Alright, yeah, that alcohol is getting to me. Yeah. Jim. Not the Jim Bean. Please, no more alcohol. Let's shoot Jim a message so they can watch their repair. Let's get their name up on the screen. Jim. And let's take a brief break. Actually, nah, forget about it. We're gonna fix this first, and then we'll take a break. We've got no lights, no power. We've got our power cable plugged in, and yet still no power. We got a couple of watts from the wall. For all intents and purposes, that looks to be the same dead diode as any other. So let's get it all fixed up. Mike! Welcome. Welcome to the chat. Mike said Apple considers some of their products as disposable over others. It took a lot of work to make the iPhone serviceable by third parties. I don't disagree with that. I do not disagree with that. The first thing that pops into my mind when reading that, though, is how much Apple actually invested in the HomePod. It is mind-boggling, especially when you look at how much they ended up selling some of them for, and looking at their typical profit margins when selling other products. And I'm not off the top of my head familiar with the exact numbers of their other products, but for HomePods, it sticks out as pretty odd relative to Apple's other stuff. So, the first gen HomePod, this guy, every single unit costs Apple $249 to manufacture. From what I can tell, that's not even including cost of research and development and the ongoing support for all of these things. This is iPhone 6 hardware. They've got an iPhone 6 in this thing. And it still gets current software updates. That's insane. But in any case, $249 per HomePod. That's the raw cost of materials. That is insane. And for them to only sell it for $350 at launch, and then go down to $300, and in some cases to $250, $260 if you can find it. At the time when they were still being sold new and what have you, long before the second gen, before they were discontinued. But I remember on the people would always share about whenever these would go on sale, and them being sold at $250 was a good deal. And even then, that's at cost to Apple just to manufacture them, not including research and development, not including shipping it to you, and all the support that comes after that. It is insane. And my theory behind their whole pricing behind that, my understanding was Apple tended to have a bigger profit margin on hardware than this. And they were already they already knew they were going to have a hard time justifying to people a $300 to $350 smart speaker that only sits stationary in one spot in your home. They already knew they were going to have a hard time pushing that to people for $350. So, for them to only make $100 at most on each HomePod, it seems really weird for Apple. So what's the reasoning? What's the motivation? My theory is they wanted to find more ways to get more people sucked into their ecosystem, sucked into Apple Music and their other subscription services. I mean, frankly, it worked. It works really well. It worked for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying that all of this is inherently bad or evil, because I use it. I do the same stuff. Like, I bought my first HomePod. I liked it so much I got more of them. I wanted even more of them, and I figured out how to fix them, and the demand for fixing them for other people came along with that. But yeah. I was a pretty hardcore Android guy. I did Android and Windows, and I only touched Mac stuff when I needed to. And then I got my HomePod, and I was like, oh, this is nice. Alright. We've got the amp out. We're gonna take a brief break here. Give yourselves a second to grab a beverage, take a bathroom break. We will be right back. No audio. Ed, I truly appreciate you pointing out that I don't have any audio there. I have been streaming ever since we got back from the break without realizing that we were still muted. Appreciate you helping me out there. Tell you what, Ed. If you can, if you have a HomePod, if you own a first-gen HomePod, shoot me an email, and I'm gonna send you one of my USB adapters. Just as a little thanks. Because I've done so many streams in the past where we've taken a break and muted our microphone, and then we've come back and we've done a whole nother hour or so, wrapped up a whole stream, and nobody's mentioned that I didn't unmute myself. So I really appreciate that. Shoot me an email and I'll hook you up with one of my USB adapters if you're interested and you've got a first-gen HomePod to use it on. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go to my website, nixfix.com. I've got a link to my shop at the top, and if you go to my shop, I've got a bunch of different parts for first-gen HomePods, and I've also got the USB adapters that allow you to connect to the proprietary debug port on the bottom of a HomePod and attempt to restore its software if it's bricked for whatever reason, software-wise, or if you want to use USB AirPlay. I, by pure accident, discovered that you can plug a USB cable into these HomePods. You can plug a USB cable into them and connect that to a Mac, and it'll show up as a local sound output that you can output sound to. It's effectively any other AirPlay speaker that shows up to your Mac, but it's all done over USB, so if your Wi-Fi's dead, if you don't want to use Wi-Fi, pretty nifty little trick. Ooh. 14 screws for the amplifier. Each one of them matters. Yeah, somehow I'm missing one. I'll go ahead and subsidize that. Must have dropped it somewhere when we were taking this apart. I've seen all sorts of things. I've seen broken stuff, I've seen things not put together correctly, but I've never seen a screw missing. I've actually even seen extra screws. I've seen screws that the manufacturer just left bouncing around in here. And it's just an absolute I'm in shock that the thing even worked until it failed from what you see us fixing here. But I've never seen a HomePod with any screws missing yet, so I'm sure we'll come across one at some point. Like if you're watching this in 2017. Are you by chance an Apple employee developing these HomePods? Because that would be the only reason someone would be watching a HomePod repair in 2017, is if they worked for Apple. Dan? Also, welcome to the chat. Welcome to another live stream repair. But no, I'm kind of serious. If somebody's watching a HomePod repair in 2017, that's probably because they work for Apple, because HomePods weren't a thing then. At least they weren't a thing to public knowledge. It's alive. Yes.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
All right. Yes, yes. Josh is all, or not Josh. Josh is up next. Jim is all fixed up. We shall now move on to Josh. Josh has 2 HomePods. And it's not just another one with no power. We've got an interesting pair of HomePods here from Josh. Josh here sent in 2 HomePods, not with no power. They both power on, but they both have various base issues. One of them has developed the common death fart, and the other one has the precursor to death farts, or very loud popping as it turns on and off. Let's take a listen. So this one sounds like it's a little too late for its subwoofer speaker. The DC voltage, or those death farts, have done its damage to that and completely cooked it. Yeah, I can kind of smell it. Oh boy. All right. So we've got no bass entirely at this point. That's a pretty common thing when those filters go bad, and what happens and why it happens is the subwoofer speaker, and really any analog speaker, is designed for an AC audio signal. So when the speaker moves in, it's going to move the same amount back out and then back to center. With DC voltage, with DC offset, it's going to move the speaker one way and it's going to keep it there. And that's going to be its new medium. So with that being its new medium, it's not going to be able to move as much. It's already halfway. It's like having a ceiling. But if you're already halfway to the ceiling, you have only that much room left to work with. So on top of that, you've got, like, it has to work to do that. It's constantly working to hold the subwoofer at that new neutral middle. Ideally, you've got no DC voltage, so when turned on, the subwoofer sits where it is with no power, which is right in the middle naturally. But with DC voltage, it forces it in one direction or the other, and it has to work to keep it there. So the amplifier is constantly working, the subwoofer is constantly working, and since nothing's moving around when it's doing all of this, it can't cool itself off either. The subwoofer relies on the normal AC audio signal to move back and forth, and that action of moving back and forth is what helps move air and cool things down. So it can't do that, and it gets super hot, and eventually it just kinda has a meltdown, fuses itself together, and you lose your bass eventually. I'm willing to bet that is not a quiet subwoofer. Oh, no, it is. It is. There's a chance that it's still good and it blew up something else on the amp. But we're gonna see here. Bottled bread. Amazon. What's Amazon delivering today? I'm not aware of anything that Amazon should be delivering today. Is this a real Amazon employee? Yep, they dropped something off on my porch. They have to be real. Yes, indeed. If you get me to 20 likes on this stream, I'll take where to go? I'll take another shot of this nasty stuff. Alright. Sorry. I was coordinating dinner plans with my wife. It's only 3 o'clock and dinner's already on my mind. Then again, I'm one of those people that don't eat anything until dinner. I wake up, I literally roll out of bed and into my office to work for the day. It's part by choice. It is part by choice, but it's part out of necessity. I have so many notifications on my phone from people needing various things by the time I wake up that, I just feel so bad putting anything off. And yeah, self-care. I should take care of myself, I should get ready, this, that, and the other thing. But when I work from home most days of the week, so I like to take advantage of that. If I can roll out of bed and open my laptop and get right to it, I'm that kind of person. It works for me. My wife, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. She prefers to wake up before everyone else so that she can, take her time to wake up, gain consciousness, catch up with what's going on in the world. I like to wake up and I like to dive headfirst into doing something immediately. I like to take my time to catch up with things at the end of the day. I like to wake up, get busy, and then give myself a reason to relax at the end. Even then, though, there's just so much to fix, so much to work on that I cannot sit down for any length of time and just relax. At least not without a guilty conscience. And I do not mean, no offense to anybody that does whatever they want in their free time. I envy you. I wish, at the end of the night, part of our family routine, as silly or stupid as it sounds, I sit down with our kid and I hang out with them, and I give my wife some dedicated time to not worry about anything. And she usually opts to play video games. And there's nothing wrong with that. If, you have to spend all day watching a kid, you're not going to want to work during the few hours of the day that you've been given to have some free time. But I love to stay busy. I used to play a bunch of video games. I was huge into Halo 3. I can't right now. I cannot stop every 2 seconds to respond to your text messages. Who dares disturb my do not disturb? Oh no, no! 21 likes? No. When did that happen? Oh. I promised you guys a second shot of Jim Beam bourbon at 20 likes. I'm gonna give it to you. Alright, let me line this up. Where did it go? Here's my shot glass. Here's the beam. You guys are gonna have to get me to 30 likes if you want me drinking any more than this. Like, I thought, haha, ooh, funny, hee hee. Call to action. Give me likes, I'll drink alcohol. Super funny, huh? Right? Ugh. Ugh. I hate it. I gotta wash that down. Oh, that's what I can tolerate. Hard alcohol, that ain't it. No, I'm gonna stop the stream before I let you guys get to 30 likes. Oof. Oof. Did I see a new chat in the corner of my eye? Ed? What's my take on the 2nd gen HomePod and the Mini? Not the first time I've been asked this. I am not particular about the 2nd gen HomePod. Certainly in comparison to my obsession with the 1st gens. The 2nd gen sounds slightly cleaner, slightly more direct, but ultimately a little less powerful, a little less exciting to listen to. I still think the 1st gen smacks it. It still gives that truly magical listening experience. The 2nd gen still does pretty good for that. Don't get me wrong. And to be fair, I'm kind of saying it wrong. There's lots of people out there that praise the 2nd gens about as much as I praise the 1st gens. So I think it's a matter of subjective opinion, which one you think sounds better. If it's between the 1st gen and the 2nd gen. The Mini isn't something to be compared with to the 1st and 2nd gens. The Mini's good for sticking somewhere you wouldn't care if it got broken. Like, I wouldn't want to stick a full-sized HomePod in my bathroom because I would be worried about the humidity killing it. But I'm much less worried about my bathroom breaking a Mini. And the benefit and experience that it will bring me having a Mini in the bathroom far outweighs the likeliness of it breaking from operating in a humid environment for prolonged periods of time, excuse me. That said, that said, the Mini in particular is constructed in a way that will be more resistant to water and humidity than the 1st or 2nd gen. And that's because the speaker, the logic board, the display, everything is basically sealed in the Mini. With the 2nd gen, however, and the 1st gen, unlike the Mini, they have components like this, like the logic board, that are exposed and only covered up by a little bit of fabric. So humidity and water can permeate right through and get to these critical components and cause issues. Likely corrosion over time from the humidity. But the Mini, on the other hand, the Mini has all of this stuff, everything sealed off. So in theory, it's much more suitable for long-term use in more humid and wet environments. Not that it's waterproof or even water resistant, but based on its construction, based on my gut feeling taking all of them apart so many times, the Mini definitely seems more built towards more humid environments. The 2nd gen and the 1st gen non-Minis, not so much. And for the size, like, the Mini sounds awesome. I've got a handful of Minis set up around my office cubicle because they have They have an excellent sound stage for the size, and I can put them anywhere I want. And then they're not so loud that I'm bothering other coworkers across the office. The only coworkers that can really hear it are the ones that sit directly next to me. And thankfully, they share the same taste in music as I do, or at least they're not bothered by me using them. I usually try to be in the office when no one else is there, so I'm not bothering people with my shenanigans, but I run my own Wi-Fi network, and I've got the password written on a sticky note in front of all the HomePods, so if anybody does want to use them while I'm not there, because I'm only in the office 2 or 3 days a week, so I'm working from home most of the time, which means I've got a bunch of HomePods and I've even got a SingCell Alpha at my desk at work. And they're not gonna be used for most of the week, but I absolutely do not mind my coworkers connecting to my Wi-Fi network that I ran for them and playing their music and making the last few hours of the workday a little easier, even if I'm not there. Alright. Let's get... I am getting uncontrollably hungry. So, I think what we're gonna do is get Josh's other HomePod here. And then we're either going to take a break or we're going to do the rest of these tomorrow. Because I do not want to fix a bunch of stuff on low energy. That is when I make mistakes. Ooh. Wow, that's a pop. Jeez. Alright, let's get this fixed up. It's going to be the same as the other one. Hopefully the bass speaker did not suffer. What do I what? Who? Juicy Crumb. I have never heard of them. Juicy Crumb now offers HomePod repair services. For no power issues. That is pretty cool. I mean, I'm obviously not concerned about competition or whatever. I had 15 freaking HomePods show up in one day. But it is really cool. It's really cool to see all these other, shops like pop up for HomePod repairs. I mean, I'm not gonna go and put anybody that's directly competing with me up on my website, but when it comes to international, meaning, in other words, I'm an American, so if you're outside of the US, I'm more than happy to work on your HomePod, but shipping's gonna be really expensive. So I've been collecting a list of people around the world offering repair services. So if you're not in the country, if you're not in the US, you can consider your options. There are still people that live in places where there's still nobody to this day offering services, so their best option is to still ship it into us. But I'm always looking for people around the world offering services so I can put their name up on my website. I would much rather not have a repair customer. I'd much rather lose out on the money because I recommended somebody to someone that's local to them than make money off their repair because they didn't realize that. Like, for example, did you know that there was somebody in Croatia offering HomePod repairs? And I've had people from Croatia reach out to me being like, hey, I'll I'll pay for the shipping, I'll pay for shipping and the repairs, which in total is more than the cost of just replacing the thing, but because of where they're located, they're not sold where they live. So repair, even if it's more than one of us Americans can replace it for brand new, is the best option for them. And they like these things. People love these things so much, just like me, that they'll be willing to do just about anything to get them fixed. And I would much rather lose out on the money recommending them to someone that's local to them than making them eat ramen for a month or two just to get their HomePod fixed. I'm not here to make money. I mean, I'm here to make people happy and it comes with the added bonus of a little extra income that makes living life just a little bit easier, especially with a kid. So, like, if you aren't in the US and you do HomePod repairs and you're willing to take on whatever someone's willing to throw at you for HomePod stuff, please reach out to me. Let me know where you're at. Let me know your website. At the very least, get an email address set up. Google provides really affordable business accounts so you can get your own custom email address. Set yourself, make it look a little more professional. It's not going to stop most people, but when they're sending an email to homepodrepair123@gmail.com, they might be a little more skeptical than if they're sending it to Nathan@homepodrepair.au or whatever. Thanks for sharing the info. I figured you've been asked that before. Have I attempted repairs on the other HomePod models? Yes, I have. I've had a couple of the minis, the HomePod mini sent in. Every time I'm asked about a HomePod mini, it's been about no power. And here's been my experience with the minis with no power. Is half of them show no lights, no nothing. But I plug them into my Mac and they let me restore. They show up in recovery mode and they let me restore the software on them. And then they work just fine after that. The other half have definitely been hardware issues. And, well, okay, so backing up, back to the ones that were stored with my MacBook, I bought like 6 HomePod minis, 4 parts of repair from the same. It was a single listing on eBay. It was like $50-$60 for 6 HomePod minis. I mean, the only and biggest catch was that none of them turned on. But for that much, it was worth spending the money on to see if I could figure anything out. And when I got them, that's what I tried first. I plugged them into my MacBook, all of them, and to my surprise, 4 out of the 6 showed up in recovery mode and let me recover them with my MacBook, and then they were just software issues. What was strange is that I tried them. I tried all of them with a power adapter, And sure enough, they didn't light up, they didn't power up at all. It was only when I connected them to my MacBook that they lit up and let me restore their software, and they started working. So whenever somebody reaches out to me with a repair request for a Mini, that's the first thing I suggest, is find a Mac with USB-C and plug that Mini into it and see what it's doing. See if it lets you restore it and if it works fine after that. So that's been about my experience with half of the Minis that don't power on anymore. The other half of the Minis that don't power on anymore have been a combination of a few things. Or a mixed bag, I should say. They've been a random shorted capacitor on the logic board, or they've been unsolvable. So it's not a, you know, with the first gen HomePod, I've fixed thousands of these. I can confidently say I've fixed more of these than anybody else out there, and that's probably never gonna change. And from what I've seen, it's a mixed bag of like the random shorted cap or just completely unsure, like unsolvable. It's probably an SoC issue. SoC meaning system on chip. The HomePods are quite fascinating. They have, let me see if I've got, ah, damn it, I don't. Okay, well I've got this instead. The HomePods have the CPU right here. It's an A8 CPU. And then underneath that is the RAM. So normally, on most electronics, you've got a CPU chip, a storage chip, and then a wireless module chip, and then another chip for like RAM, random access memory. You know, your desktop, your MacBook's got 16 gigs of RAM. You know, Apple recently announced, like, their baseline MacBook comes with 16 gigs of RAM by default now. That's usually a dedicated chip. But with HomePods and a lot of iPhones, it's stacked with the CPU. So you've got your CPU here, which is the A8, and then underneath of it is the RAM, 4 gigs or 8 gigs or whatever. And I think that is just that's an interesting design. It's basically, I don't know what basically. I just think it's neat. What size caps? David? Welcome, David. I don't think I recognize your name. You must be new here. Welcome. To answer what size caps are those? I'm assuming you're referring to the 4 filters that we replaced. Those are SMD size 1206. I am curious why you ask. Are you trying to do your own repairs? Or are you just curious? Because despite what the camera may perspect to you, those are actually some of the larger components that we tend to work with here. But if you're familiar with SMD component sizes, then 1206 is gonna be fairly large to you. I also have the exact spec, not just the size, but the whole spec of replacement filters that we use if you're curious. If you head to our website, nixfix.com, and then go down to the known issues, and then we've got the DC offset / death farts issue. I've got the part number that we use listed there. Just curious. Yes, they are fairly large. Relative to like your average micro soldering component, where we're not talking about 0206 here. We deal with stuff that small and much smaller, but yeah, 1206 is the size of those, and that's absolutely macro relative to micro soldering in terms of size. I'll fix that in a second. Face cam. How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes. There we go. Is that lined up? No, it's not. There we go. Appreciate your kind words, David and Ed. I think, I hate to leave you guys. I really wanted to fix all of these in one sitting here, but we're almost 4 hours into this stream, and my wife got back home. I don't want to keep her for too long. She's been watching the kid all day, so she deserves some free time, and we all deserve some dinner. Alright. Well, the only way to know for sure if Josh's stuff is all fixed up is if we let it test overnight and blast the ever-living out of his subwoofer speaker to make sure it doesn't continue farting. Aside from that, that is all that I am going to fix here and now. I'm going to go get some dinner, and then we're going to try to get this kid to sleep, and maybe we can fix the rest of those waiting here tonight. If not, we'll get them picked back up tomorrow. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed this live stream repair. Excuse me, this live stream repair, and I hope to catch you in the next one.